And then there were two. So, hello and welcome to Asnan's Cricket World. Well, yesterday we saw an epic encounter as expected between South Africa and Australia, and as the last first semi-final was a high-scoring one, this was a low-scoring one, as on a pitch which was doing a lot for the fast bowlers as well as had something for the batters, and it was a lot of spin in the wicket. It was a very competitive track to play cricket on, and South Africa won the toss and decided to bat first, considering their history in this tournament, where they have had 350 plus scores batting first, and so they decided to, in this high pressure game, decided to bat first. But it was an overcast conditions, and Australian bowlers truly thrived in it, as Mitchell Starc got rid of the out of sorts Debavuma in the second ball of the game, and then Josh Hazlewood took over, and he bowled in a magnificent opening spell, and soon they had South Africa reeling at 44 for 4. And this was an absolute fantastic opening spell from the Australian bowlers. They kept the South Africans under check in the first couple of overs, and probably they won the game there. But it was a good resistance from South Africa later on, with David Miller and Henrik Klaasen putting up a 95 run partnership, 75 runs rather partnership, and were going pretty well with some attacking shots in the middle, taking on the Australian spinners, particularly the likes of Adam Zampa, who had an off day, and he was hit all over the park. But as the partnership was growing, Henrik Klaasen had got to his 40 and was looking very dangerous. Australia had the master trick of bringing on the part-timer Travis Head, and he was very impressive as he got rid of Henrik Klaasen with a beauty of delivery, and Marco Jansen also was the second ball, and soon South Africa were reeling at 119 for 6. And but David Miller didn't lose hope. He, along with Gerhard Coetzee, got South Africa to safety, got past 150 man mark. But David Miller he looked in a fantastic form and played a very responsible innings and got South Africa's first century in a knockout game. He got to 102 and got South Africa to 213 at the end, which probably would have proved to, which was 212 at the end, which could have been which were South Africa's lowest score in this batting first in this World Cup, and it was a score which did not look that many for an Australian side brimming on confidence, but it was competitive enough. Australia started off in their usual aggressive manner, with David Warner and Travis Head getting Australia to 60 odd in the first 10 overs, and they were really going after the bowling. But then South Africa introduced the spinners Keshav Maharaj and Tabraiz Shamsi, and soon they got rid of David Warner, was out, and then Travis Head. And Australia were a bit of a bother at 138 for 4. And Steve Smith and Josh Inglis then took over. Then Steve Smith played a rather loose shot, and South Africa were at one stage 185 for 7, still 20 adrift. But Matt Cummins and Mitchell Starc kept their nerves and kept the South African spinners and the fast bowlers at bay. South Africa threw everything at the Australians, but in the end, I think they were 20 or 30 runs short, because South Africa and Australia didn't bother much because Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins had nothing much to do other than defend and find a loose ball to hit. So, as was the case in the first game, New Zealand tried hard. They tried their hardest, but they had conceded too many runs. This time around, South Africa had too little to defend, as they probably were 20-30 runs short, and they tried threw everything at the Australians. But in the end, the runs, and it was a bit. It was a thrilling game, and Australia coasted to the 8th final, and this has been one fantastic performance from Australia. They started off patchily with losing to India, and then played a very poor game against South Africa, but they have turned around the corner now. We're having won 8 on the go, and now they take on India in the final, who have won 10 in a row. So it's 10 in a row versus 8 in a row, and it looks to be a very tight contest, the final. Well, for South Africa, you cannot take anything away from them. They tried hard, they tried their best, but again, the Chokers tag cannot be taken away from, cannot be taken for granted, because they have always lost at the semi-final stage, have yet to make the final. And this time around, their side was brimming with confidence, and they had the batting and the bowling to give Australia a tough time. But I think the Australians won probably in the first start of the game, when they had South Africa at 44 for 4 and conceded. And South Africa and their bowling, probably for Australia, won them the game. And South Africa, well, they tried their best. They had probably, apart from David Miller today, the batting didn't click much for them, because they were tied down by the expertise of the South African bowling, of the Australian bowling. Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc were brilliant at the start, and so Australia are now in the final, and they will be taking on the huge on confidence India, and this will be an epic encounter. So let's see what happens. And this, we were hoping for a big thrilling contest, but we did get the thriller which we want. The history suggests that the Australia South Africa matches have been very tight, and this was one of them. But too few runs made the difference for them. South Africa, if they had crossed 250 odd, they would have been in the contest. But in the end, Australian, I think they have been fortunate enough that their lower order and has clicked for them, but otherwise their batting, particularly Steve Smith, who hasn't found his groove in the one-day arena, has got starts in this tournament, but hasn't really found his rhythm going, which has made him so spectacular. And then there is Marnus Labuschagne, who's also played some very good knocks, but hasn't quite converted them to big ones. So there will be an area of concern for the Australians if they don't get a good start, and then they will be challenged against India. So let's see what happens over there, but it will be one epic encounter. And so the World Cup has eluded both New Zealand and South Africa yet again, and they will be very disappointed, particularly. In fact, South Africa will take a lot of positives, because not much was expected from this young lineup, but they played outstanding cricket, and it will only gather well for them, because they have got a young squad, apart from Quinton de Kock, who has retired now from the one-day international, and maybe David Miller. They have a very good young squad in their disposal. And with the World Cup at their home in the next 2027, they could be hoping for making a side that could win the World Cup for the first time, because hosts have been thriving well. So that could be the turn for Africa next time. Let's see. But for now, let's get up for the final, with India hoping for a third title, while Australia would look to add a sixth one to their tally. And it would be a very interesting encounter, because India, who dented Australia's confidence at the start, will take on a very different Australian side this time around, who are brimming on confidence. And let's see if we can. There's a history between India and Australia, which an epic history. India having beaten Australia in the last 2 Test series, and has always been very, very interesting encounters between Australia and India in World Cups as well. And Australia would be hoping, and India would be hoping for a 2003 take the revenge of 2003, where they were hammered by Australia. So let's see what happens. It would be a very interesting encounter to watch, and we'll be coming back later with more analysis. So bye for now.